Good morning. I'm Stephanie Jones, the Vice President of Sales for RADAC, and hello and welcome to our 9th ED Talks, which are quick sessions that focus on leadership, entrepreneurship, and recovery for our regional businesses. We really thank you for attending today. The Rockford Area Economic Development Council, in partnership with Rockford University and the Peary School of Business, started these sessions to support our community efforts to respond, recover, and reopen our local business and manufacturers. Take time to reference the RADAC website, rockfordil.com, for additional resources. Last month, if you were able to join us, we talked about change. And today, Dr. Renee Just will talk about how to make that change happen. Dr. Just spent over 2 decades working in a range of positions for various million and billion-dollar enterprises. In 2004, she launched a consulting practice that focuses on helping entrepreneurs and small business owners set strategic goals and devise action plans. She is an associate professor of leadership in the Peary School of Business at Rockford University, as well as the director of the degree completion programs offered in the evening. She's been teaching for over a dozen years, and most recently, her teaching and research has been focused on entrepreneurship, generational differences, and leadership. Dr. Just holds a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology from Capella University, a Master of Arts in industrial and organizational psychology from the University of New Haven, and a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Albertus Magnus College. In addition to her current academic accomplishments, Renee received her second doctorate from Vanderbilt University in Leadership and Learning Organizations this past December. At the end of the presentation, Dr. Just will answer questions, so please submit your questions through the chat box function throughout her presentation, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. And now we welcome Dr. Just.
Thank you very much for having me here today, and I'm thrilled that I've been able to be a part of this this series. And as Stephanie mentioned, last month we talked about change, and today I want to talk to you about out with resolutions and in with goals. So some of the topics that I'll be covering is why we might consider not making the traditional New Year's resolutions, the difference between the resolutions and goals. Then we'll talk about goals themselves and how to set them. And now what do you do with it? So resolutions is kind of funny. When I was younger, it was the thing to do. And many people do the New Year's resolutions. Sometimes they're done half-heartedly. Oftentimes it's the same resolution year in and year out. The fitness industry, the gyms in particular, look forward to New Year's resolutions because gym memberships skyrocket in January. And for the first quarter of the year, they see a huge influx, and January, February, March gyms are packed, revenues are up, but it's kind of like a good idea. And I don't know about you, but when I was much younger, people make resolutions at midnight. Well, that's after an evening of being out, being in a New Year's function, a party, a dinner, whatever it is. And we set ourselves up to fail because oftentimes they lack the metrics needed for success. So some of the resolutions, everything isn't bad. So some of them, the whole thought process, it promotes self-reflection. If a resolution is change. So that in itself triggers a desire to be different or be better. But I'll go back to there's a lack of metric as one of the cons. Resolutions sound motivating and it opens the thought process to move and change, which can be exciting. the biggest problem is you sort of want to make the change in theory, but in your heart of hearts, you don't know if you really intend to make that change just yet or how committed you are. Maybe you aren't sure you even want to make the change, but somebody is pressuring you and everybody's doing it. Maybe your doctors mentioned that they like you to lose weight, or perhaps a spouse wants you to go to church, temple, mosque, whatever your house of worship is more often. You can see their point, but you're not entirely opposed to the idea. However, just having that conversation, somewhere in you, you're getting that pushback in your gut of some kind of resistance. And you kind of reflect back on your younger years from times that you've made resolutions and they didn't seem to work out. So what's different now? So a resolution is a decision to do or not do something. And a goal is the object of one's ambition or effort. It's a shooting for a desired result. Personally, I've never been a fan of New Year's resolutions, probably because it seems like most of the resolutions that I have made didn't work out, or it revolved around changing something about me that I wasn't happy with in the moment. So don't get me wrong, I'm not self-care and self-advancement are good things, and doing things to improve my overall health and well-being, I think is great. It's always been interesting to me how people vow to completely change behavior on the first day of a new year, as if some magic motivational switch flipped
Take a
at
jump.
12:01 a.m. on January 1st. So the problem is that the expectations for these drastic changes are often set way too high. And again, I'll go back to that we're lacking a metric on how to get there. And oftentimes, and I have seen people in my life that they go about resolutions with an all or nothing approach and get discouraged when they don't have that instant result. So rather than making a list of resolutions, I like to think of goals and dreams. And I know that they may sound similar, but in my experience, the mindset and approach to achieving them is very different. A goal provides a direction to follow to achieve your desired outcome, and involves intention, planning, preparation, and taking reality into consideration. So a goal is your target. It's the desired outcome that you hope to attain. Goals have a definite and precise endpoint. You know when you've achieved a goal. There are short-term and long-term goals that you can set. And goals fit into a variety of categories. Career goals, relationship goals, health goals, personal goals, whatever the case may be. So a dream is a dream. But when you set a goal, you can dream within that. So it's kind of like one of the old sayings that I've heard is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So let's plan. Oftentimes, individuals or business will set themselves up for failure by setting very general goals or unrealistic goals, such as I want to be the best at X, pick whatever X is. So this goal is vague. It doesn't have a sense of direction, and being the best at that, based on what? What is the best based on? What is it your personal best? Is it your department best? Is it your family best? So it really, it's very loose. It's not tight. Setting a goal that is smart sets you up for success because there are specific components that your goal follows. The SMART method helps to push you further. It gives you a sense of direction. It absolutely helps you organize and reach your goals. So having a goal that is SMART meets all of these criteria. It means that it is specific, it's well defined, it's clear and unambiguous. The measurable, there's a specific criteria that you measure your progress toward the accomplishment of your goal. And it's something that's achievable, it's attainable, and it's not impossible. And the realistic is within reach and relevant to your life purpose, be it personal or professional. The timely component is that there's a clarity defined with a timeline. So it has a start date and a target date. And this purpose, again, is to kind of, if you think of your start date and your end date as bookends, it then helps you create a sense of urgency and helps you to focus. So let's look at an example. So a poor example would be, I want to lose weight. That could be a mantra or a goal that you have over your lifetime if there are not parameters to it. So a SMART goal would be that I want to lose 15 pounds by December 31st, and you could actually leave it at that. Because it's specific, you can measure the pounds, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time bound because December 31st is your end date. So you could get very specific in this, which will help you with your plan by eliminating sugar from my diet and through a routine of walking 10,000 steps a day and or exercising. So you have an absolute idea of what's involved in what you're doing with this goal. So when we're thinking about a goal, you know, to set specific goals, we think about who's involved, what do I need to do to accomplish it, where will the action take place, when is the goal going to be achieved, and why is the goal important? And it's really important for you to answer those questions because this gives you a results-oriented or relevant goal, which in turn represents a worthwhile objective. So weight loss is both relevant and results-oriented. And with your target date, you know exactly what your expectations are. So big goals, dream, yes. Big goals are great if they're SMART. The more detailed the goal, the better you set yourself up for accountability measures. So you've defined a goal. It's very specific. You can measure it, you can achieve it. 15 pounds by December is very realistic and we have our time. So now what do we do? So we plan. So the cool thing about a SMART goal is you set the goal and then we kind of back into it. And what we're going to do is we're going to brainstorm. Of all the things that I need to do to lose this weight by December 31st, and literally with Post-it notes, especially if you're doing it by yourself, I recommend doing Post-it notes. Get a big piece of paper, presentation paper, whatever the case may be. Post-it notes don't leave marks. Use a closet door, put them up, color code them if you want, but you want to brainstorm every single thing that you will need to do to accomplish that goal. So, you know, how do you grocery shop? Do you need to change your meal planning, cook at home versus going out, pack your lunch for work? Maybe you want to lose weight by eliminating sugar. You know, eliminating sugar impacts everything that we eat. How do you do that? You begin by reading labels, purge your pantry, avoid simple carbs like pastas and rice, avoid options marketed that are healthy ending in OSE like fructose, sucralose, because the OSE fake sugars trick your body into thinking it's consuming sugar and can in turn intensify your craving. Drink water, get rid of all of the sodas or sweetened drinks. use fresh fruit and cereal, not sugar, and so many more things. So you just start brainstorming everything that is you need to do to get there. The exercise component, the walking 10,000 steps, when, how often, schedule your goals. It's not just walking at work, walk the dog, change the scenery, select one new location and walk each day or week, whatever you can schedule. Go to a trail, go to the different parks. We certainly have a plethora of parks to choose from locally. If you're going to exercise, where, when, how long is each exercise session going to be? Are you going to go to a gym and be a part of a workout routine? Do you have the ability to do this at home? Maybe you can do high impact workouts at home. Developing new habits to help you change your mental mindset. Do meditation, do journaling, do yoga. Can you have a workout partner for accountability? So you get the idea of all of the different things, and you might come up with 50 different things on your Post-it notes that will help you accomplish these goals. So some of these are going to be tasks. So the way you grocery shop, how you meal plan, and when you start doing them, they start becoming routine for you. And some of them become as routine as getting up in the morning and making your bed, taking a shower, brushing your teeth. And so as you move through, each of these tasks become a habit, and you repeat them until it's almost automatic. So you've brainstormed and you have all of these Post-it notes covering your door. You're looking at it saying, now what do I do with all of these Post-it notes? So I recommend, and I do this with clients, and I have recommended this in my classes when there are major projects due at the end of a semester, is that you've brainstormed everything you need to do. Now look at your calendar and divide it into days, weeks, and or months. And then you're going to look at your goals and what do you need to do? Some of them you'll need to do one before the other. Some you can do simultaneously. The whole idea is that you backfill your calendar. So if you're going to work out, if you're not working out at all, start with 2 days a week and start with 15 minutes a session. And so for the first 3 weeks in your calendar, you're going to carve out time. What are you, a morning person? Are you a night person? What's your work schedule? Literally block it off on your calendar. And then as the days and weeks go on, ratchet up your time. The same thing with meal planning. Schedule cooking ahead. So all the things on your list, you're going to backfill your calendar with. And the trick to this is that you've got this goal out there. So instead of continually focusing on this goal, you can really kind of put it aside because you've got a plan now. So you've reflected, you've committed to doing this, you've brainstormed, you've filled in your calendar, and you have scheduled time for your grocery shopping. You've changed how you shopped. Healthier eating tends to be more perimeter shopping in a grocery store. If you get a visual of fruits and vegetables and fishes and meats, if that's what you do, you're changing that routine. So you've scheduled a lot of different things. Some of these things that you've scheduled have become habit. Some you're starting to look forward to now. So as we tick off the days and the weeks turn into a month or two, you get a couple of months into this and you get on the scale and all of a sudden you've lost 15% of the weight you wanted to lose. That's motivating. So that motivation then will help you increase your time that you have scheduled for walks. It may increase the time you're exercising, be it at home, with a gym, taking yoga, whatever it is, it's very motivating. Then all you have to focus on is, what do I need to do today? What do I have to do? What's on my list today? What was on my list this week that I accomplished? And as you check them off, you don't have to worry about that goal. Oftentimes, people will set goals and they're overwhelming. You know, I want to lose 10 or 15 pounds, or I want to save X dollars. I want to buy a new car and it's $40,000, whatever it is. Those are large goals, can be very overwhelming. And that in itself is demotivating. But when you break it, when you've brainstormed and you're very thorough in your brainstorming and you plan and you start checking off the days and the weeks and the months, you don't even have to think about your ultimate goal, because as long as you are working this plan, you'll get to your goal, and you'll get to it step by step in a manner that is motivating. So some of your post-it notes on your closet door, wherever you have them, some will be a priority. Some you're going to need to do one before the other. Others you can do simultaneously. It's really important to check it off, and it doesn't matter how small it is or how silly you feel when you start checking these things off. It's really important to celebrate the small wins. So set specific but challenging goals. Ink it, so plan it, don't just think about it. And when you're working on it, by checking it off, it helps you think of your goals in a positive manner, and you start looking forward to the next thing on your list that you're doing. And the idea is that by accomplishing the small tasks, we're more motivated. By focusing on this week's tasks and not the goal months off, we increase our chance of success, because we're focusing on today and we're focusing on the here and the now. And when you whittle away at the daily and weekly tasks, you're going to achieve your goal. Remember, it's much easier to work on small goals than this huge, massive undertaking. And the old saying is that we eat an elephant one bite at a time. And that's how you accomplish large goals. One bite at a time, one step at a time. So this is a guide that you can work from. And it's a guide if you're not used to setting SMART goals, that you can answer these questions. And as long as you're answering these questions, you're setting yourself up for success. So again, the key is going to be, you're going to come up with your goal. Does it meet the SMART criteria? If it does, kudos and thumbs up. Now you're going to want to go into the whole brainstorming mode of every single thing. And you might ask somebody to help you brainstorm with this. What are all the things you need to do? Because if it's something new that you're undertaking, sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So ask somebody, hey, if you were going to do X, what are all the things that would have to happen to accomplish it? And by backing into a goal, working a SMART goal and having a plan, you have a much better chance of achieving your ultimate goal, whatever it may be. Today was short and sweet. SMART goal setting is a simple process. It's a process that works. And I'm going to say happy goal setting and good luck in your goal setting. And I'd like to thank RADEC for inviting me to come be a part of this amazing service that is provided to the community, and for allowing me to be a facilitator on 4 of these sessions. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jess. That was a wonderful presentation. We do have a few questions. So the first one that I'm going to ask you is, can I turn a resolution into a goal?
Absolutely. And that's a great question, because you may be out with people, and people are your friends or colleagues or whoever it is, or setting resolutions. You can. So I would say, when you have your resolution, to then reflect and approach it with intent, and then challenge yourself and go back through the whole SMART criteria and ask yourself, what part of my resolution is SMART? So I'll stick with the goal that I just had of losing weight. So I want to lose weight this year. So that's not SMART. Then what you would do is, so if your resolution is not SMART, then shift or adjust your resolution so that it meets the SMART criteria. Oftentimes it's taking resolutions fall short. And when I started out, I started by talking about how resolutions most often lack a metric and lack an accountability component. So take that resolution again and reflect on it, shift and adjust it, have it meet the SMART criteria, and then you have a goal and you have something that is actually attainable and that will be motivating for you.
Okay. And we have another question that came in here. Are SMART goals only for personal issues like weight loss, buying a car, and similar issues?
Great question. So no, not at all. And I can tell you that I have set SMART goals not only in my personal life, but in my professional life. So an example of a SMART goal in your professional life, you might want a promotion. Your goal may be to have your boss's job. So you want to go up 2 levels. Okay, there's your goal. I want to achieve, and whatever the title is, by, and then name a year. So then your brainstorming then starts to look like, what do you need to do to get there? What does the person 2 levels up from you have? What do you think the position needs? And then you brainstorm, do you need to increase your or change your education? Do you need to tend to your own professional development? What knowledge or skills are you going to need to achieve that promotion? Once you've identified all of that, then how do you obtain them? So what is it that you need to do to obtain this skill or to get this knowledge? And some of that might be professional development workshops, signing up with professional associations and organizations in your industry, attending webinars that are related to your industry or your career or your goal, taking classes. So you would do the same thing. You would brainstorm on all the things you need to do to get there. And then you set timelines and you set up your calendar. So if you want 2 levels up and you set the date out a couple of years, then you're going to back into that. And for professionals, SMART goals are, pardon the pun, but they're very smart, because it's a way for you to remain focused and you have a clear path of achieving your goals.
Great. We got another question that came in here. Some goals require the buy-in from others. How can you get that from a partner or a supervisor?
Fabulous. So some goals do require buy-in. And I think this is really 2-pronged. I would recommend that you start planning, have your goal, and you start devising a plan. Because sometimes we have a difficult time expressing our point of view or making the argument to somebody else, our spouse or our employer, to get that buy-in. However, when you come prepared and armed with data and information, which is why I say start your plan of whatever your goal is, does it fit SMART criteria? And share the SMART worksheet, share the criteria, share the objectives, share the benefit of this. And when you come armed with a plan and a well thought out process that has intent and commitment, it's so much easier to get buy-in because your spouse or your employer sees that it's not just a knee-jerk reaction, it's not just on the whim, that there's been a lot of thought put into this, and it opens the door for conversations. And I would start there for buy-in, and then ask for feedback on your plan, and ask for what holes or gaps does your spouse see? Can they help you continue brainstorming?
That's a great way to do that. That was a wonderful answer. Looks like we have a couple more questions. The next one is, can SMART goals also be long-term goals?
Absolutely, and I think I started to go in this direction, and maybe it's where it came from when I was talking about our SMART goals only for personal.
Mm-hmm.
So your long-term goal, and I'll go back to the promotion. So say it's going to take you 5 years to obtain that promotion. And that's not a bad thing because we can't necessarily jump 2 or 3 levels, next week or next month or next year in our organizations. So that is your long-term goal, is your 5 years. And it's professional. You're still going to do the same thing. You're going to break it down into smaller bits, thinking about how we eat the elephant one bite at a time. So your 5-year goal can be overwhelming if that's what you keep thinking about. So we're going to break it down into what's realistic. Okay, so maybe realistically in 3, I could get up 1 level, and then by 5, I could get up 2 levels if that's where I want to go. So your 5, just for example, might be a vice president, your 3 might be a director, and your 1 is going to be a management level. So you're going to brainstorm everything for your 1 year that you need to get to that management level. And then from 1 year, 1 day to 3 years, you're going to do the brainstorming in the same planning process that I showed you with all the Post-its on your closet door, between the 1 year and the 3 year, of how do you get to that director level position? What are the things you need to accomplish? And then the same from the 3 year to the 5 year of the vice president level, of what do you need to accomplish? In those buckets, while some of them are going to look similar, they're going to be very different because the professional development, the exposure, the industry knowledge and skills, and potentially the educational component from where you are today to where you want to get to be in 5 years can be very, very different. So while one of the parts of it is increasing your education, and education can be degreed education, but education can also be certificate, it can be just coursework, it can be webinars and presentations and conferences. There are a lot of different facets and different ways that we can educate ourselves. So I would take the 5 year of I want to be a vice president, break it down into those buckets, and what do I need to do in the first year? How do I get from 1 to 3? And again, it's the same process to up to the 1, between the 1 and the 3, and the 3 to the 5, because you're going to brainstorm, you're going to backfill your calendar with all of the tasks and functions you need to accomplish to get you there. And if you're working that plan in 5 years, if you have control over that slot being available, chances are you will be ready to take on that position. And if you find yourself in your organization at 5 years and that is your goal and you don't see that position opening, for an additional 3, then reevaluate where you are. And I'm not saying to be a job hopper, but if this is your goal, clearly you would have a defined trajectory that you see for yourself, and it is okay to have a defined trajectory, have smart goals set, accomplish everything within your goals to go for that end result in 5 years, wherever it may be.
Great answer. You've touched upon the next question in the last question that we had, but there's another section that may be beneficial to folks. So the question is, people talk about having a 1, 3, and 5-year plan. Why is this important? Or is it more important in my career than in my personal life?
Excellent. So I just touched on the 1, 3, 5 in your career. It's not more important for your career versus personal at all. It's important that we have 1, 3, and 5-year goals set for us personally also. And an example might be, and depending on age ranges, and with younger end of the age range, you've graduated from school, or you're in your first 5 years and you're working and you want to buy a house. Most often people don't wake up on a Tuesday morning and say, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to go house hunting. It's a big expense and it's a huge commitment. That can definitely be buying a house, a 1, 3, and 5-year plan of how do you accomplish that? Depending on where you are in your career, or depending on how much you have saved, you set the 1, 3, and 5-year goals up. And your 1-year goal simply may be to set up a separate account for saving for a house. And your 3 to 5 might be hitting different goals in that. And between 4 and 5, it could be doing all the research on home ownership. Oh my goodness, when you buy your first house, you need tools that you don't even think you need. If you have a yard, you need outside tools. You look at window drills. There's a lot of different things you can research. Homeowners insurance, neighborhoods, schools. So a 1, 3, 5-year is perfect for personal. And it could also be you want to take a trip to Italy. That's not inexpensive, and many people don't have that expendable cash on the spur of the moment, especially if you're looking at a trip that's going to be $10,000 or $15,000. That is a 1, 3, or 1, 3, 5-year plan. If you want to buy a second home or a vacation home at the beach or in the mountains, whatever the case may be. If you're having children and you want to set different goals for your kids or for your family. So I would highly recommend that you entertain SMART goals for both your professional and your personal life. I think when we set goals like that and we have the thought process and the reflection and there's intentionality, we set ourselves up for success, but we also set ourselves up to not end up in 5 years looking back saying, wow, you know what, I had a great idea 5 years ago and I should have followed through. This provides the vehicle to follow through.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Just, for such a great presentation and strategies to help manage change at work and in our personal lives. We appreciate your time and expertise. Our region is fortunate to have you and the resources of Rockford University available to us. And we thank everyone who attended today. We at RADAC hope you found value in today's presentation and you can take what you've learned here today with you and into your workplace and your daily life. For more information on upcoming webinars and other RADAC events, please visit rockfordil.com. And please do not hesitate to reach out to Rockford University for additional support and resources. We have a powerhouse of a university right here at our region's center point. And again, thank you everyone for attending today's presentation, and we wish you a very great day.
Thank you.